Hey guys, what's up? This is JRP77 from JGN Games, and I'm going to be telling our life story today, or not really our life story, just more like our story on how we became a company. Um, you'll notice that I kept ads on here, but there is no video. It's just going to be the JGN Games logo. I'm going to consider this a podcast, and I'm just going to keep it up there so that you guys can see it. So I'm going to tell you guys our story so that you guys can relate to us and see what we're going through. So it really started in 5th grade. In 5th grade, I became really, really close friends with one of our team members, Azadi. We'll get to G-Man in a minute, but Azadi was my first really good friend. So we started talking, and it became clear that we both wanted to make a video game. Um, we started learning Xcode. We started talking about what we'd want. We didn't really do anything at recess because we were talking at this little gazebo we had at Meyer Field about what we were going to do. And we talked and talked, but it became clear that Xcode was not going to be the best for making a game. So we got into we kind of quit. And we talked, and I knew it wasn't going to work. I wasn't very good at programming, and so we just kind of waited to see if there was going to be anything that spiked up that really helped us achieve our dream. Then that next year, 6th grade, we had a back-to-school party. I was kind of bummed because Azadi couldn't be there, and I didn't really want to be there. And then I saw this kid out on the field who looked like he was in our grade, but I didn't really know who he was. His alias is G-Man. We all have chosen aliases because we don't want to put our name out onto the internet. So we talked because Nate wasn't there, I believe. We talked about video games and programming, and he was really the first friend that I had met that really understood video games and programming and modeling and how they're designed. And he was into stuff like modding Minecraft back then, and so he really understood a lot of the stuff that I was still trying to understand. So, first day of school came, G-Man was not in my class. And that kind of bummed me out because I felt like I was really a good friend of G-Man, and they had just separated us. Maybe they had seen us talking or something back to school, and they had decided for us not to be in the same class. I don't know. So, he was in Nazadi's class, though. And that was good because that really sparked the friendship between Nazadi and G-Man. Since I was already friends with Nazadi and G-Man, that was good. And so the entire 6th grade year at recess, we started drawing. Because I can attest to this, G-Man is a much better drawer, and so is Nazadi, than I. I cannot draw to save my life. If you guys have seen my handwriting on a few tutorials, it is some of the worst handwriting I've ever seen in my life, and it is my own, so that's kind of sad. And we talked, we drew. Since I was more of the techie guy and I kind of knew how to get stuff done, I started looking at story and stuff like that while they focused on design. So we talked and we talked and we talked, and I can't tell you how many hours we talked about this outside of recess. Maybe that was why they separated us, because they were psychic and they knew that we were going to start talking about a video game and that we weren't going to stop, because I kid you not, we got left outside once because we forgot that recess was over and we had to run inside, and we got in trouble, and it was scary. As a 6th grader, it was very scary. So over that summer, we started thinking about how we could do this, and I jumped into Unity and Blender. Those two softwares literally have changed my world. Unity is focused at 3D and game development, even app development, and Blender is focused on modeling. So it was clear that I couldn't do programming and modeling, so I turned the modeling over to Nate, while I focused on one of my favorite things to do when I get home is to program. Literally, programming random things is my forte. So we started, and it was basic searches on YouTube, like how to make a gun in Unity. which would be really sketchy if we didn't put in Unity at the end of it. So, and we probably would ended up getting tracked by the government or something. And I just started looking things up, and by the end of the summer, I had a working prototype of Stormstrike. There's a bunch of bugs, a bunch of things that didn't work, and it was kind of annoying, but not really. So we started doing that, and then I realized that the reason that it had so many bugs was because I was copying it from a different idea. For example, the tutorial would be like how to make a worm game, and I was copying the shooting method from that and putting it onto a first-person shooter, which didn't really work. So I started diving into the general things about it, the JavaScript, the language I was using at that time. I started learning how certain operators worked. I started looking at how functions worked. I started looking at how variables worked. And by knowing that, I could then change how I went about programming. And because of that, that helped a ton. I understood, and then I could start making stuff on my own now that I knew how all the functions worked. And so now, I get to the point in which I know pretty much all the basic things, and I'm not ready to jump into the advanced stuff yet. And I wanted to start modeling, and I wanted to show Nate ways to make really, really detailed models, but not make them really big files. And so, I kind of looked around for about 2 months looking for tutorials on how to make game assets because that was what we were looking at. I looked up the topic and stuff, and there's nothing really good about how to get good high poly objects and turn them into low poly objects with a free software, or at least without using a free or at least with using a free software, but not really but it taking 3 hours. So that's what we looked into. And I wanted to show people how to do this because I was looking for a really effective way of doing this. So what we did was I started planning. I kind of dropped off Stormstrike for a while. That's the name of our game that we're currently developing still. And I started thinking, how can I teach this to other people? Because I finally figured it out. By combining a bunch of tutorials together, I figured it out and ended up with a pretty good solution. And I was wondering, how can I explain this to people? And I thought immediately, YouTube. YouTube would be perfect. So I recorded a tutorial. I did all that. That was when we came up with our aliases, was when we made that tutorial. And yeah, I did not know how big of a success that tutorial was going to be. Even the first one. The first one was how to model a chess piece in Blender. And that was really good. I mean, I think that has 20,000 views on it. It's way up there, and it's one of the most popular tutorials on the subject itself. You Google game asset creation, that's the first tutorial that comes up. And so that's when we really started to go off as a company. We started getting subscribers. Started at 10 subscribers every 30 days. Then we went to 20. Now we're at 130 every 30 days. And now we have over 60 tutorials on our channel that you can watch and understand. About a third of them right now are the Blender modifiers. I apologize for that, but you get the idea. And we just started making tutorials, and I started to realize that people didn't like the scripted tutorials. The scripted tutorials seemed too fake. It seemed like I was trying to be someone I wasn't. And so I got rid of the script for one of the tutorials. I think it was how to make a 2D RPG. The first one that I threw away the script, and I just spoke from the heart. I started talking passionately about programming and setting up the player, and that tutorial went off too. So that's when we started to realize our tactics for using making tutorials. Zadi and G-Man would give me suggestions from time to time. They gave me suggestions to do Intro to Blender. They gave me suggestions to do Blender modifiers. They gave me suggestions for how to make a gun in Unity. They really showed me a bunch of stuff like that that I hadn't known before. And so now we come to today. Today we have 1,300 subscribers roughly on YouTube. That's a huge milestone because that marks at the end of 1 year we have more subscribers than I had ever dreamed of having. I only thought I was going to get like 2, and it would be my mom and dad, and then Nazadi's mom and dad, and then G-Man's mom and dad. But we have 1,300, and you guys are such a good community. I mean, I haven't really gotten a negative comment yet, and I've been making tutorials for a year. I understand that I probably will get some down the road as I get more popular, but still, that's impressive that I really don't have any negative comments. So that's really what our life, not our life, but just JGN Games is all about. It is the story of 2 6th graders that went from knowing nothing about game design to knowing a ton about game design and being able to make video games in our heads, essentially, due to our knowledge. If you're looking at starting a channel, a tutorial channel, there's 3 pearls of wisdom I can give. The first one is always be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, then people aren't going to see. Unless you play it off really well, it's hard to pretend to be someone else. Second thing is to get a good mic. The only negative comments I have been about my mic. And that was when my microphone I got for literally $1 off of eBay. Now I have a new mic. I'm going to be using that in the next video. And the third one is to connect with your community. You really have to connect for your channel to succeed. If you guys look at the time from our comments when they're posted to when I'm responding, even emails or Instagram or Twitter comments, I mean, I'm responding like that. I'm responding as soon as I can, as soon as I'm physically able to respond, and as soon as I know the answer. And that has helped my community because I'm helping them. I'm looking into doing live tutorials to where people can submit questions and I answer them while I'm doing something. So stay tuned for that. It'll probably come out around summer of 2016. It'll be like on a Friday or Saturday. And it'll just be fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this life story of JGN Games as our 1-year birthday for making tutorials. And I encourage you guys to not just learn, but to teach, because teaching is the greatest way to learn. Because if you can teach fluently on a subject, then you know the material. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.